Welcome to the UCS Advantage video series, UCS Integration with Microsoft System Center Virtual Machine Manager, session S-14. My name is Chris Dunk and I'm a Technical Marketing Engineer in the UCS Business Unit. This session will demonstrate UCS integration and capabilities in a Microsoft Hyper-V managed environment. There are 5 main integration solutions for Microsoft System Center. These solutions include tools for the UCS Integration Pack for Microsoft System Center Configuration Manager, also the UCS Management Pack for Microsoft System Center 2012 Operations Manager, UCS Integration Pack for Microsoft System Center 2012 Orchestrator, and the UCS add-in for Microsoft System Center Virtual Machine Manager, which is the platform that we will focus on today. Also available are the Cisco UCS Microsoft Windows PowerShell Power Tools, which makes it easier for administrators to manage UCS infrastructure with a powerful CLI. This discussion will focus on System Center Virtual Machine Manager features for UCS managed domains. Here we'll walk through the steps of integrating Cisco UCS Manager into System Center Virtual Machine Manager, which is a simple process by which we'll register the UCS domain within the system. Under Settings, we're going to select the console add-in. Here we see the UCS add-in is already set up for the demo. Select the add-in path and browse to the UCS integration file that was downloaded and placed on the local system. As seen on the screen, the plugin has now been added to SCVMM. As we select the VM and Services button at the bottom to change the context of the view, you can see the Cisco UCSM icon is added to the toolbar. An entry under the hypervisor's host is also added for the UCS domains. The next step is to register the UCS managed domain that will be visible by SCVMM. Right-click on the UCS domains and select Add UCS Domains. Insert the UCS Manager Virtual IP and access credentials. Click OK. This step was already performed and the managed domain is now listed in the view pane. High-level details are also shown. Now the UCS details can be seen by expanding the UCS Domains icon and selecting the domain. All domain level details are displayed by selecting different objects. For instance, equipment shows the firmware versions loaded and which packages are available to assign to the blades and infrastructure. We will come back to this. By selecting the chassis, you have visibility to the blades, the type, the state, the health, power, and association of any service profiles. The status column shows the current state of each server, and you can see here that a service profile is being associated on blade 8. Select one of the blades and this will display the details of the hardware. Full inventory, parts, model, processors, memory, etc. all visible. Select the Firmware tab and this will show the currently installed firmware of the host. All faults are also displayed with detailed descriptions of each entry. Selecting on the blade, we can edit the service profile associated to the physical blade. Select the active service profile will take you to the service profile detail screen. Here, actions can be taken against that service profile. For instance, we're going to change the service profile that is placed on this hardware by changing the association. When selected, a table is presented showing only the rack and blade server hardware in the domain that has no service profile currently assigned. Change the view by selecting the All Servers radio button to see every server in the domain. Once a server is selected, the service profile is removed from the existing server and placed on the server selected from the table. You can also disassociate the service profile from the existing hardware to free it up for use in the pool and to have another service profile assigned to it. Other actions that we can perform within the blade or the service profile, such as renaming and cloning the service profile that can be used on another host. This can be done as a template in order to deploy one service profile to many hosts at one time and maintain consistency and security. Here we're going to create 2 clones of this service profile and we'll give them different names. To view the new service profile, select on the service profile object all the service profiles, including the 2 just created, Test1 and Test Hyper-V. And note the states of both the profiles. They are unassociated and are not assigned to a server just yet. Also, to see the new service profile in the tree, just right-click on the service profile object and refresh, and the new service profile will show up. Selecting the Test1 service profile under Actions, an administrator can change the service profile association, can select an unused blade or rack server. The other key feature is the ability to manage firmware policies for the hardware through the service profiles. First, let's view the equipment object. This will show the firmware that has been currently uploaded to the system. New firmware can be uploaded by simply selecting Upload Firmware and browsing to the location of the file on the local workstation. In this example, we can change any existing policy and modify the firmware version for a new firmware package. In this case, we're going to select the default policy, it's the only one there, and a pop-up appears where you can select the rack and blade server firmware versions from the drop-down of eligible images that have been uploaded from the previous step. Select Next and the impact summary table comes up. Here you can view all of the managed endpoints to view what impact changes to the policy will have and if reboots are required versus staging the firmware for a reboot at a later time, and if maintenance policies are being used. Selecting Next outlines the impacted virtual machines and which hosts they are currently running on so that you can migrate or shut down the virtual machines before continuing. Selecting the Update button will start the process. Now let's create a new host package policy at UCS Manager and see how it auto-populates to System Center Virtual Machine Manager. Create a new policy in UCS Manager, select the package versions with a new name. Going back to System Center Virtual Machine Manager, right-click on the host firmware package object and refresh. The new policy Test1 is now visible. Select a service profile and under Actions, change the host firmware package. The pop-up will now show the two policies that exist. Select Test1 and apply. This will start or delay the firmware update process on that host firmware depending on the maintenance policy. Selecting a blade and going to the Firmware tab shows the currently installed firmware of this hardware endpoint. Now let's look at the auto launch feature of Cisco UCS Manager and the KVM. At the domain object, right-click and select Launch UCS Manager GUI. This will bring up the UCS Management GUI, enabling a more detailed configuration and management over the UCS domain launched from System Center Virtual Machine Manager. The other auto launch action is found at the physical system or under the service profile where you can launch the KVM interface of a blade or rack server. In this video, we have covered the main features of UCSM integration with System Center Virtual Machine Manager, including setup and integration, domain details and summary of blade and rack servers, fault summary, service profile view and management, also domain actions for firmware, upgrading and policy management, cloning service profiles, associating and disassociating service profiles, and launching the UCS Manager GUI and the blade KVM. From the System Center Virtual Machine Manager interface, UCS provides many of the day-to-day operations and full visibility from server host to virtual machines that are running and installed on the platform. Thank you for watching this edition of the UCS Advantage series, UCS Integration with Microsoft System Center Virtual Machine Manager.